There is no love in capitalism. This is one of my favorite topics, and we're diving right in today. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Joanna Fatonji. I am a strategic coach for women in corporate and in business. And today we're diving into the topic of love because we all love love. We all think that there is some kind of love out there. So many women are looking for men because of love, right? Love is a topic that is so inflated, and especially in today's digital age, so much relationship content. There's just, we can't escape it, right? So today I want to give you like a completely different perspective on love, again, especially as a professional woman and as a woman in business, talking about self mastery, right? Learning about yourself, becoming self aware, getting over yourself, your insecurities, working on yourself, becoming more powerful, becoming more skilled. Many times women think that the price ultimately is a man, and especially also the price of this kind of woman that I'm talking to. Like, even we might have thought or still think that the man is the price. Like, you're doing all this work, you're working on yourself, you're becoming the most beautiful version of yourself. You look good, you smell good, you feel sexy, you're working on your skills, you're working every day, like you're hustling, you're out there, you're doing everything you need to do in order to create the life of your dreams, right? And I just want to take you a little bit into my world. I have been a life coach for 10 years now, and I have had many women working with me. And one thing from the earliest stage of my work, what I realized is that most women suffer because of men. One of my first clients was an older woman. She was probably the age of my mother. She was in her 60s, and she was suffering from the divorce of her husband. And her husband was a hotel manager, and she was like this, you probably have seen that archetype, like a very beautiful older white lady. You could see she has been taking care of herself all her life. She was actually a fitness coach, and she was like trained. She was still slim for her age. She was probably like a beautiful, attractive catch when she was younger, and still was, like, she was a highly attractive woman, and she was into personal development. She was, as I said, one of my first clients, and she invested in me and in our work together. And she told me that the thing that she was suffering from the most was her divorce with her husband. So what I see there is a pattern that I've seen throughout my now 10 years of experience with a sharpened eye, that she was the perfect woman, brought kids into their lives, like her children, his children. He was a successful hotel manager. He was traveling. And she told me that he had at least one affair that she has known of like for years. And he ended up leaving her for that affair. And then she was broken, right? She was, as I said, already in her 60s. And that showed me that she was beautiful, smart, talented, and worked on herself, but still she was in a very unprivileged situation at the end of her life, or at the mid of her life, right? Really 60 years, and then having like nothing. Like, he took the apartment and the house and so on and so forth. So that gave me like a quite big awakening already at the beginning of my career. So this is one example. She like, she was left with not much financial security, even though she had been with a powerful man for most of her life. So this showed me that that can't be the plan, right? A man is not the plan. He will leave you, discard you, and choose another woman right before you thought you're over like the work life, ready to enter the pension and maybe enjoy old age with your husband. This is when he left her. Another example is one of another younger client. Like, I think this woman was my oldest client, and then I had my youngest client. I think she came to me when she was 19. She's probably in her mid 20s now. And she just a few weeks ago contacted me because I always like to keep good relations with my clients. And she contacted me as a place of trust. And she told me that she just managed to get out of an abusive relationship. Again, another highly ambitious woman, very driven, passionate. She was a dancer. Went to the US to dance with a big company. She danced professionally and competition. Like, she is amazing. And she also told me that she got into a privileged situation, if we want to call it that, with a man who promised to help her pursue her career. And this is what we see again and again, where men position themselves as the person of power in the hierarchy of power that I always like to use as the framework. Because, ladies, we can't forget that we live in capitalism, a man-made structure which includes racism and patriarchy, right? The white rich old man at the top of the hierarchy that leaves many of us, especially women and especially women of color, into an unprivileged situation. So this young woman, as I said, very ambitious, was going for her dreams, and then she got caught with this guy, or in his trap. And now, like, I think probably 2 years or something later, she managed to get out. And I'm not blaming these women. I just want to let you know, if you are an ambitious woman, be very, very mindful, because love is not what you think it is. There's a whole industry behind creating this romance, that there is some kind of unconditional love. Men don't know this kind of fairy tale. They know how to use and abuse this story that women have been fed since they were little girls. But men just learn how to use it, because men know that we live in patriarchy, capitalism, and racism, and they know how to play the game, especially men who put themselves into a power position to be able to abuse that kind of power. A man that will pretend that he's going to provide and protect you, a man that pretends that he's going to give you a leg up on your pursuit of your passion and your business. So we have to be very, very mindful to realize that there is no unconditional love. And I want to go a little bit deeper into the topic, because I have studied that very much. I'm not only a strategic coach, but there is a spiritual principle behind success in this world. And this principle is love, right? There is the love that you're looking for is inside of yourself. But my brand is called Healing into Femininity. I always like to say the healing part is the root work. The healing is the root work. But then the next level is the femininity, which I equate to power. Okay. So healing is the root work, and then femininity is the strategy of the pursuit of success, power, and privilege, because femininity needs nurturing, right? We need space, we need money, we need good food, we need beauty, we need rest, we need time to learn, to educate ourselves, to invest in ourselves, to have a mentor, to strategize, to position ourselves, to grow our businesses. That is my sense of femininity. It's about power and growing into the most beautiful and powerful version of ourselves. So the healing part is where the love comes in, right? Because many people have trauma, especially if you come from an underprivileged community, whether that be from poverty or some kind of racial discrimination or a lack of education, right? Those things are common to many people. So I call it out, because the sooner we understand what the condition were that we grew up in, the more we can understand the trauma and the more we can heal it. Okay. Okay, so we have to actually learn to allow a level of healing coming from a mentor or a coach or a community, to be open enough to learn what we don't see about ourselves, to see the blind spots, the unconscious patterns that rule our lives, and to heal those wounds. Mother wounds, right? Mother wounds are most likely the most damaging thing for a woman in patriarchy, racism, and capitalism. Because if your mother didn't love you, you had no real love in this world, because there is no unconditional love. The only unconditional love, or the only thing that is close to unconditional love, what we seek from a man, is actually the love of a mother. And if your mother didn't give it to you, you lack a lot of love and nurturing. And because a human being needs that, we're looking for love in all the wrong places. We're looking for love in all the wrong places. And that is what leads us into the arms of the predator, into a man who's going to continue to exploit us. But what I want to say about love is this life force energy that is inside of you, right? So if you didn't have that love from your mother, you can now receive a love from either, as I said, the best thing. And again, I am not telling you to run into the arms of someone else, but it's about finding somebody who can actually teach you real motherly love, which is not only sugar, because people who only sell you sugar and validation are the predators. Also other women, right? Because people can sniff out trauma, and if you were traumatized, people can sniff that out, and sniff out that you need this level of validation. You're so beautiful. You are so talented. I see it in you. I believe in you. You're amazing. You're so special. You're a goddess. Whatever we like to hear for validation, this is what people are going to feed us, especially if we are vulnerable to receiving, or that we are vulnerable and we haven't received that kind of validation from who we were supposed to get it from, which is our mother and our immediate surroundings. So we need this motherly love, but most of the time we run exactly into the arms of the opposite gender, who is going to exploit us. So again, diving deeper a little bit into this concept of love, you carry the love within yourself. And in order to become more of who you are, again, for me, that is a symbol of the feminine expression, the unfolding, the opening, right? In order to become her, like the best version of yourself, you need a lot of love, and you need the love to build yourself up. That is what your own energy is for, right? No unconditional love anywhere else. Everywhere else, with every other human being, it will most likely be on the basis of transaction, which doesn't mean that there can't be love in transaction, but transaction is the fundamental level of trade, right? We need to have the transaction when we understand capitalism, because nobody can drain their resources to help you. That's very important to understand. There's no unconditional love, because somebody who understands the world that we are living in will not be able to give you something for nothing. I always like to speak about that. There is no thing as something for nothing. Only people at the very bottom, only people who have nothing, think they can give you something without something in return. So we have to be very mindful of that. And something applies to this unconditional love, or let's say to building up your love, is about you nurturing yourself, you loving yourself as a survival mechanism. You have to love yourself to health. You have to love yourself To heal psychologically, to heal spiritually, you have to love yourself, to gain skills and go out there and do the uncomfortable. Become a beginner, learn to learn, right? Because learning is always hard. And many people who don't feel comfortable enough in their already wounded state will not go for what you need in order to love yourself more, because self love translates to self care, and self care is also about you taking care of yourself financially. Okay, I know this topic is very big, but again, to wrap it up, I don't want to make it too long, but to wrap up this point of there is no unconditional love in this system is about you understanding we live in a system that is mainly motivated by the pursuit of power and privilege, right? So people are striving for survival and a betterment of their own life first and foremost. That's why most people go and look for other people's resources, which is life force energy, which I just said is ultimately love. Love is life force energy. Love is, people also say God is love, right? So let's deconstruct that a little bit. God is love, God is life force energy, and you carry life force energy. And since we live in a capitalistic system, there is no such thing as something for nothing. You always have to exchange life force energy to receive something else. You have to pay in order to eat, right? People pay to have sex. People pay to speak to somebody. People pay. This is how this economy works. So if you are traumatized and if you have a naive good girl mindset, you think that there is something for nothing, aka unconditional love. And that is the first trap that you will fall into. And again, it's not only young girls, still old women think that this is true because we have been conditioned and brainwashed so much that we think everything in the society is capitalistic but human relationships. And that's not true, because again, everybody is on the pursuit for power and resources, right? People need resources and you need resources too. And the first resource you need to learn to budget is your own energy, and not to give it away to some person where you think that this is unconditional love. It is not. It's never unconditional love. It is always exchange of energy for energy, resource for resource, value for value. Okay. So that's very, very important. So if you are now at a point where you're like, okay, I'm looking for a man, please ask yourself why you are looking for a man. Ask yourself what makes you think that this is going to be an enhancement of your life. Because also, you, if you weren't aware of it up until now, you are driven by the pursuit of power. First, I suggest healing. As I said, healing into power, healing the root work, healing the fundamentals, healing your childhood wounds, healing your conditioning, healing the root, the foundation. That is the first thing. And I can tell you that that takes longer than you might think if you haven't done any true personal development work. True healing work comes through taking responsibility to heal your foundation and to build your foundation, to then build upon a solid foundation, more privilege, power, and leverage in this society that keeps you being a valuable player in the system. Because again, people trade value for value, service for service, right? Money for service, money for product. We are constantly trading. So you can't expect something for nothing. That is magical thinking. That is the illusion. That is brainwashing. And especially women, young women suffer from this, but also professional women, also business women, right? This is the kind of woman that I'm speaking to here. Even you, have some tendencies. I definitely had, right? It took me some time to get out of the conditioning that there is no unconditional love. Everybody wants something, and the sooner you understand that, the sooner you treat yourself also in your personal life as a product, as a business owner, right? The more you treat yourself as a business owner, the more you can effectively talk to people and know that everybody wants something. Everybody is looking for power and privilege, and everybody is willing to do what it takes in order to get to the next level. And that's why there is no unconditional anything. Everything has its price. Everything has its price, and you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to pay for your healing, for your pursuit of power, skills, knowledge, wisdom? Or what are you willing to pay in order to be with a man? Because he certainly understands the capitalistic system and the game that we're playing. And many people rely on the ignorance and the naivete of women to think that the woman believes that there is some kind of fairy tale love, but there is never a fairy tale love. If you don't negotiate what you are worth, what you bring to the table, and what your price is in order to enter a business deal with a man, which is a marriage, which is a relationship, because resources are being exchanged or shared. If you are not willing to do that, you better be sure that somebody's going to exploit you, because everything is about energy, power, privilege. Okay. So, again, don't be naive. If you want to heal into femininity, meaning healing the root work to position yourself for power, progress, and privilege, the description box in the description box you find my links. Become part of the community, the school community, where you are going to find like-minded individuals who are willing to do the necessary work in order to get ahead in this capitalistic system, to heal yourself, to love yourself, to be supported by other women who are willing to exchange experience and knowledge, which is love, right? Position yourself in a safe environment in order to work on yourself, stack up skills, negotiation, speaking skills, effective communication, personal appearance, right? All of those things play a role in this capitalistic game that we're playing. And if you're ready to really take it to the next level and you're ready to work with me one-on-one, please apply. The link is down in the description box below. And for everyone else, I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.